Survivors come in all shapes and sizes, and this is small but very deadly. It also appeared in a very famous James Bond movie. We're going to find out more about it and its designer later in the show. Where's that flamethrower? Also in today's programme, I'll be taking centre stage for a rather unusual performance and discovering the secret of a well-made hat. But first, let's reminisce. Growing up in the 70s was pretty tough. And I'm not talking about football hooliganism, the three-day week, power cuts, the draconian pub opening hours, or fumbling about for a bit of change to call one of your mates from one of these. Yes, kids, there was a time before mobile phones. No, I'm talking to you about fashion. Who can forget cheesecloth, shirts with collars like that, tank tops, cap-sleeve T-shirts and trousers that came up to here? If only I'd been born 10 years earlier. Back in the 60s, it was an entirely different sartorial story. This was the age of the mod.
Carnaby Street never imagined years ago it would be a fashion centre. It's the street where all the withered boys go for the expensive outfits the chicks dig. No matter how handsome a mod may be, the right gear gives him real class.
And the classiest item of clobber, worn by members of this sharp-dressed clan, was the three-button suit. And if you didn't fancy an off-the-peg number, you could always head down to your local tailor for a bespoke suit. But it's not so easy today. If you let your fingers do the walking through the current edition of the Yellow Pages, you'd be hard-pushed to find too many independent tailors. In fact, there's only that many. But back in the 1960s, you'd have had no such problem. And having a tailor to call your own meant automatic promotion to the Mod Premier League. Or should that be the old First Division? Threadneedleman George Dyer is one of a shrinking number of high street tailors keeping the old traditions alive. He's made a name for himself with his mod-inspired outfits and is about to embark on his most important assignment yet. The famous George, I presume?
Yes, that's me, Suggs. How are you?
Very well indeed, even though I'm up the Walworth Road for the first time in my life, I've got to say.
You're safe with me, don't worry.
OK, well, George, the reason I'm here is obvious. I want a suit made, mate, and I suppose you've seen the kind of things I wear. I like a nice kind of 60s three-button thing. Is that what you could do for me?
I could make that style for you, Suggs, but I'd like to show you my signature cut. There's a few special details on the slanted buttonholes, the shape of the lapels.
Well, the cut of the suit looks great, George. I'm no expert on these things, but I reckon we'll need some material. Crikey, this is no place for the indecisive. Oh, that's nice. The midnight blue. That's absolutely beautiful. Look. Yeah, and that looks good under a bright light as well. That.
You see the shimmering effects.
That's lovely.
The green's nice as well.
Yeah, yeah.
But
I think the blue's the man, George. Actually,
that's the one you want to go for.
Breathe in. It's time for the measurements. Waist 24 and a half.
Right. Let's just go.
Chest 44 and a half.
Right.
Biceps enormous. When you get to the waist, try and keep it under your breath, George. Right.
No, I'm off that. Don't worry.
George cut his teeth in Fleet Street, where he was apprenticed to a firm called Dombey & Son. They're not around anymore, but they once boasted 38 shops in London alone, in the days when handmade suits were almost the uniform for the British Mail.
Just fell in love with clothes from an early age.
Armed with my rather impressive measurements, first George has to cut a paper pattern. He learned the tricks of the trade as a young apprentice, rubbing shoulders with tailors who started work in the 1930s. And now he's agreed to share his secrets with me.
Don't be frightened, just cut it out.
Go for it.
Go for it, yeah.
Cut it out, that's what my missus was telling me last night.
Just cut it out. You're doing it wrong.
What?
No, you... No.
Are you back to my missus again?
That's what it's all about, enjoying what you're doing. You know?
Even if you are doing it wrong?
You know, enjoy it. Well, no, I've got you. Yeah.
So how come you do still enjoy it so much, George? I mean...
Well, every suit's different.
Yeah.
You know, everyone is...
and you still get the same satisfaction from seeing a customer bowling out of here looking like $1 million?
Well, what does it for me is the smile on their face.
Once the pattern's been marked out, it's time to get the scissors working on that rather natty fabric. I've seen how much this stuff costs per metre, so I'm not sure he should be handing them to me. It's a very satisfying process, actually. Now, is this going a bit... Where we got the outside one, yeah?
The outside one.
You're going for that flared sleeve that you like, aren't you?
Well, just slightly. Now, you would have totally annihilated that if you should have stopped. But anyway, carry on. This is where we are. Oh, no, don't do that. It's got to fit you.
So, George, what does a two-piece suit start at here?
My base price for a two-piece suit would start at £650.
That sounds quite reasonable to me for a tailor.
It's giveaway price.
Yeah, you'd be lucky to get 30 bob for it the way I'm cutting it. But hang on, I think I found a sideline. Just saying, the great thing is, you see, in my tailoring now, I've made myself a tie. See? Which is pretty remarkable, isn't it, from the first go?
Right.
Eh? Things start to get more complicated after this, so I think it's time to hand the scissors back to the expert and check out some of his handiwork. You can tell a lot about a gentleman by the lining of his suit. Now, for instance, here. City chain, obviously, dark and sober. Dark and sober. Hang on. Dark and sober. Oh! A little bit of flamboyancy. A man who enjoys his Friday and Saturday nights out. Dark and sober, grey, dark and sober. Hold on. Whoa! Got to be a girl, though, isn't it? That's cheating. But now then, how's about this? Look at that! For your patriotic gentleman, you see? Goes to the bank like that, gets down the pub in time for the football, and Bob is your uncle. Oh. Yeah. And I recognise the cut. It's a sports jacket. Oh, go on, you cheesy old fool. Anyway, no terrifically fancy linings for me, but it'll still take George a fair old time to put together a suit fit for Suggs. I'll be coming back later to pick it up. Whilst George gets his head down, I'm off to look for some headwear. I'm a pretty broad-minded chap, but I'm not sure Philip's creation will go with the suit I'm having made. The colours are wrong. And talking of my new suit, it's time for me to find out if George has finished the job. Well, George, it's a work of art, mate.
Yeah,
Lovely.
well, I am the artist.
Well, I tell you what, I won't be needing this whole thing anymore, if you could dispose of that.
Gladly.
Hopefully see you again. Good luck.
It's been a pleasure.
Cheers, and for me. Suave, sophisticated and unique. And what do you reckon to the suit? After the break, a trip to the theatre and a magnificent man in his flying machine.